Hi, I'm Robert Davis, and I am the author of The Various Stages of a Garden Well Kept, which is a new novel with a very long name. And this is Frieda the cat. The inspiration She's the inspiration for the introspective cat in my novel. This is not a novel about cats, but I use the cat as sort of your guide through the story. Say a river that runs through the generations, whatever metaphors you want to use. My story involves 6 major characters and 1 cat. Now each chapter is told from the point of view of that character. All I had to do is put on that person's hat and tell their story. It was very easy with a cat because you just crawl inside the cat's head, curl up under the sun into a little ball, stare off into oblivion. If you're a cat owner, you know what I mean. I'm drawn to the mysticism behind a cat. I'm not really sure if they're really wise or if they're just naive. But I am sure they see the world completely different than we do, which allows for a different perspective as a storyteller. I think the cat has a spirituality that my human characters may not possess. Also, she's a good link to past and present. I'm pretty sure that cats can see the spirits of those who have passed on. Okay, so with that little introduction to the book and to the cat, I would like to read you the opening paragraph of the novel. Life overflows with death, and death gifts us with flowers. A strange thought for the morning. I have a daily routine. It begins with a strange thought, and then continues on to more important matters, followed in turn by more mundane matters. Today is handing me a whisper of unease that prickles my hair. As usual, I walk into a room for my morning greeting, forgotten dreams evaporating into the new day. I love it when the windows are open all night and the air flows through the house like a taste of fresh mint. This day, in its infancy, smells of promises and anxieties. I sit on her bed and I look upon her sleeping face. This is my favorite time to look at her. That face, absence of its usual stretches and contortions, trading them in for still serenity. She has such a large, fleshy face. Cheeks like little pillows I can rest my head on. I think she put new pillowcases over her cheeks because they don't look the right color. I should touch them, her cheeks. That is not quite how they should feel. Not so soft as I recall. And cold. I don't believe she is in there. No, she has definitely taken leave of this body. I should look around and find her. Well, she should be in her body. Where else could she be hiding? As Frieda the cat meanders through the story, I use her to introduce us to the garden. The garden naturally represents life and illustrates the connections we have from one generation to the next. With that, I'd just like to read a little passage where Frieda first comes upon Marietta. as an old woman. I discovered a yard that is filled with opportunity, sun, hiding spots, and an old woman just like Hello Pat. It is mid-morning, and the sun shines down with great pleasure into my new garden. I've been watching the old woman in her daily routine of digging at the plants and pouring water on the ground. Once she leaves and the ground dries up, I'm allowed to stalk through the plants and roll in the sun. Though the plants have yet to don the clothes of this new season, and some are still underground, and still more are just now being put into the garden on the gamble that the early spring will be strong enough to fend off a late winter encore performance. For now, in the waning hours of this day, the sun shines down sideways, offering warmth but not excessive heat. Heavenly. The old woman leaves little trails between rows of plants for me to pirouette along. I've seen the woman stalking through the garden as well. She keeps her head low and her back bent forward, like the letter F. When she sits down on the ground, more like a squat, she is dwarfed by last year's giant sunflower scaffolding, which has miraculously stayed upright through the winter. She looks over at me as I sit at the garden's edge, but like a cat, she pretends she is not looking at me. She moves slowly in an odd manner that suggests her body might be held together only by brittle branches and mud puddles. She has bird hands, dry and bony, which she often keeps covered so they won't break off. She emits a strange array of sounds as she goes around her business. Grunts, tisks, sighs, soft groans. I am intrigued. How do you start with the idea for a novel? Some people, I've been told, will stare at their computer and wait for divine intervention to bring a story to them. In my case, the story just dropped in my lap. I mean, literally, I inherited the story. Intriguing little pieces of my grandmother's life have come to me, and I thought it was the coolest story, and so I shared it with everybody I knew, and they really got tired of hearing me tell the story, so finally I just had to write a book instead. Irene Gaspari, that's my grandmother. I never met her. My mom, Irene's daughter, my uncles, they were all living in dementia land, something I have to look forward to. Or they were dead, something else I had to look forward to. So they weren't a whole lot of help in my research. A few things I know. Irene Gaspari left the Isle of Tinos, Greece in 1920 to come to America aboard this ship. I know there is a ship manifest on Ellis Island documenting the crossing. I know there is a wedding picture. I know there is a house at 1258 Moore Street in Akron, Ohio. And there is this mysterious object. A ewer. A ewer? Anyway, it's been around for a while and definitely part of the story. In order to stretch my tired old 60-second anecdote into the framework of a complete novel, I found that Irene's journal, filled with unsent letters to her friend Marta back in Greece, was a great vehicle to explore Irene's adventures in life. I spent some time researching the past and present of my one-time home in Akron, Ohio, just in order to increase the fact-to-fiction ratio in the book. You know that tiny little print in the book, the disclaimer that states, names, characters, organizations, locations, and events portrayed are either the product of the author's imagination or are used fictitiously. I try to push that envelope as much as I can. Hey, how about a little excerpt from Irene's journal? My dearest Marta, I stand out here on the deck of this ship and watch my world fall into the distance. I am in the hands of the Almighty. The sun finally leaves its slumber and sleepily peeks over the horizon, casting a most beautiful orange-yellow light, which paints the island. The warm colors melt my heart. How brave I am. How foolhardy I am. How frightened I feel. What am I doing? My heart races. I find it hard to breathe. I do not trust my own legs. So I lean on the rail, shoulder to shoulder with the other passengers. Surely I am not the only one with second thoughts as we go beyond that point where it would not be possible to act on a change of heart. I look down the line at the other faces and I see looks of anxiousness, fear, excitement, and hope, all mixed together and wrapped in a small cloth that is held close to their hearts. I am told there is nowhere in this world as beautiful as our Grecian isle of Tinos. Why would you leave? My father asks. This is your home. My home. It recedes into the distance. For an instant, I feel I might jump into the water and swim back to my life. It has not been until just this moment that the enormity of what I am doing begins to sink into my heart. A tear meanders down my face for childhood gone, for what may have been a final glimpse of my family, for the loss of comfort, familiarity, and security. It is a long trip across the Atlantic. I close my eyes and I whisper a prayer. My friends tell me I am a brave woman, a true heroic figure in their lives. No, I am not brave. On the contrary, I am a coward. I am afraid of living. I am afraid of becoming my mother, who lives the life of her mother, who lived the life of her mother. I'm afraid that I will just become another bored rock on a wind-blown cliff. No changes, no stimuli. I'm afraid I will be asked to marry the fisherman in the next village and be tied to a life of crushing boredom. And so the daring life of Irene Gaspari takes off, and so does our story.